In a shocking turn of events, instances of police misconduct have escalated to an alarming extent, prompting a massive legal response. Corrupt cops, accused of overstepping their boundaries, now find themselves at the center of a staggering $20 million lawsuit. The egregious actions of these law enforcement officers have triggered a legal battle that exposes the severe consequences of abuse of power. Join us as we delve into the details of this troubling case, where individuals wronged by those sworn to protect and serve seek justice on an unprecedented scale. On the 20th of November 2022, a Marion Police Department officer observed a black vehicle driving recklessly. Without delay, the officer initiated a pursuit, activating lights and sirens. The driver eventually pulled over at a gas station. Exiting her patrol vehicle to approach the driver, the officer witnessed the driver abruptly speeding off in an attempt to escape. Swiftly, the officer reported the situation to dispatch and commenced chasing the evading vehicle. As we analyze the body camera footage, it's crucial to pay attention to the license plate number and the overall appearance of the black vehicle, as these details will soon become pertinent.
Y'all will run it from his fence.
On foot?
Negative. Down gobble.
Did you get your tag, right? Okay.
Still going down gobble. You crossed over gobble. I've lost him, but
Where's that part of it?
headed back to 76. Gonna be on Dunlop. Took a ride on 76.
How fast you going?
Got up to 80. I'm at 60 now.
Right.
Turn on south of the Baker. Come to this spot. Between Baker and Owens.
What you got? She on video.
Hands out the window! Both hands! You got anybody in there with you? Anybody with you? Take your right hand, open the door. Get on the ground! On the ground! On the ground!
In the recorded footage, the officer initially reported to dispatch that she briefly lost sight of the suspect's vehicle. Shortly afterward, she provided an update, indicating that the vehicle reappeared after making a turn. Surprisingly, the driver appeared to pull over again, even though they had just evaded the police. In response, the officer assertively exited her patrol car with her firearm drawn, instructing the driver to raise their hands and exit the vehicle. Subsequently, she ordered them to lie on the ground. Before delving into the unfolding of this peculiar traffic stop, it is imperative to assess whether the officer's decision to draw her firearm on the suspect was justified. Generally, there are no strict rules dictating when officers can draw their weapons, and the decision typically relies on the individual officer's discretion, considering the circumstances. Given the uncertainty about whether the driver was armed, one might argue that the officer was justified in holding the driver at gunpoint. However, as the incident progresses, it becomes evident that the traffic stop swiftly becomes unjustified and potentially illegal. Let's begin by comparing the license plates from the initial traffic stop with the current ones. As observed, both plates are notably distinct from each other. The implication is clear. Despite the coincidental similarity in both vehicles, the officer had mistakenly pulled over the wrong one. This led to the wrongful detention of the driver, David Wiggins. Subsequently, it was revealed that Mr. Wiggins had just left a Burger King when he noticed the flashing lights and promptly pulled it over. To his surprise, he found himself held at gunpoint without having committed any discernible offense. Visibly perplexed, Mr. Wiggins inquired about his wrongdoing and explicitly stated that he hadn't fled from anyone. The uncertainty of the situation became increasingly evident as the officer repeatedly asked Mr. Wiggins if he had fled from her.
No.
Can I ask you what I did?
You run from me?
Copy.
Alright, stay right here. Since you give me that tag.
Contact a 2016 Dodge Challenger, last name Green. It's not a hammer. It's clear.
What was the tag, lady?
Victor X-ray uniform 658.
Yes, sir. This ain't even him. But they got almost the identical tag.
You were chasing a black Dodge Challenger?
Look just like this. Yeah, you good. Look. Did someone go past you in the same car as you?
I wasn't.
Okay, you're fine. You're fine. No. Hey, you can plow me. You good?
What's the last place you saw him?
He literally had to go around him because the guy off this road, a car just like this, came
Following the confirmation of the license plate number with dispatch, the officer promptly realized that the person in custody was not the individual they were searching for. However, the situation took a distressing turn as the officer casually handled the mistake, laughing and making jokes. She even asked Mr. Wiggins if he had been frightened, then quickly apologized and walked away. Mr. Wiggins, who was wrongly detained by the Marion Police Department in July 2023, is now suing them for civil assault, battery, negligence, and false imprisonment related to a traffic stop. His lawyer filed the lawsuit against the city of Marion, contending that the incident, rooted in mistaken identity, involved excessive force. Despite an apology, Mr. Wiggins maintains that he was held at gunpoint without cause, resulting in trauma, and has been in therapy since November. In response, the city of Marion, represented by their attorney, expressed regret for the incident, announced they won't comment further, and left the matter to the judicial system to resolve fairly. In conclusion, the unfortunate incident involving Mr. Wiggins highlights the serious repercussions of mistaken identity during a traffic stop. The wrongful detention, coupled with the officer's casual response to the situation, has led to legal actions against the Marion Police Department. Mr. Wiggins, seeking justice for the trauma he experienced, has filed a lawsuit claiming civil assault, battery, negligence, and false imprisonment. The city of Marion, acknowledging the regrettable incident, has opted not to provide further comments and entrusts the resolution to the judicial system.
Hey, welcome back. Today, we will examine the details of police interactions to discern the facts and nuances of right and wrong. In this episode, we delve into topics such as lane veering, frisks, and the right to film. This particular incident involves civil rights activist and auditor Daniel Toulis, who on October 7, 2023, was pulled over by Officer Jonah Dior of the Denham Springs Police Department in Denham Springs, Louisiana. Mr. Toulis documented the traffic stop by filming it, and the encounter was also recorded on Officer Dior's body camera.
What do y'all want? Hey, sir, you do me a favor, step to the front of my uniform? Tell me what you pulled me over for?
Do me a favor, stand in front of my unit, please.
I can stand where I want. You can tell me what you pulled me over for.
Okay, so for my safety, I want you to stay in front of my unit.
And for auditor safety, I would like for you to tell me why you stopped me.
Who
are you?
I will in just a second. Hey, man, stand in front of my unit.
I could stand where I want, dude.
Not on my traffic stop.
Not on my traffic stop. What do you want? What did you pull me over for?
Do me a favor, you can put the cell phone down.
No, I can hold my cell phone.
When it interferes with a...
It's not interfering. Recording.
It is.
Turner versus driver says it is not interfering. Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi, as Turner versus driver, have every right to film y'all. What did you pull me over for?
So the reason why I stopped, I noticed you were veering back and forth.
Oh, don't give me that. It's all on dash cam.
Are you going to let me explain, or are you going to keep bumping your gums?
I'm going to keep bumping my gums because I have every right.
Got your ID on you?
What do I need to get my ID for? What law did I break?
Improper lane use.
Improper lanes. I was in my lane. I got dash cam to prove it. I never broke line either side.
You don't have to break line.
Dude,
Statute says veering back and forth is improper
veering
lane
back.
use.
I was not veering back and forth.
This ain't the courtroom. I see your driver's license, please.
This is not the courtroom?
Nope.
Officer Tabord states that he initiated a traffic stop on Mr. Toulis for what he describes as improper lane use, citing veering back and forth within his lane. Mr. Toulis contests this allegation, asserting that he did not violate the law since he never crossed over the lane lines. This argument draws upon the Supreme Court's explanation in the 1996 case of Wren versus the United States, which states that stopping an automobile is reasonable when there is probable cause to believe a traffic violation occurred. Quoting Section 79 of Title 32 of the Louisiana statutes, the court emphasizes that a vehicle should be driven entirely within a single lane unless it is safe to move to another lane. Courts, as illustrated in the 2001 case of State versus Waters, generally find probable cause for a traffic stop when a driver sways within their lane to the extent of touching a lane marking line. For example, if a vehicle veers in its lane without apparent reason, making contact with the fog line, it provides probable cause for improper lane use. Moreover, the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Louisiana, in the 2019 case of U.S. versus Jerry, established that an officer has probable cause if a vehicle weaves within its lane and touches the fog line. Similarly, in the 2020 case of U.S. versus Pierre, the court justified a traffic stop when a driver was observed drifting left and right to the extent that their tires touched the lane markers. Although Officer DeBoard claimed Mr. Toulis was veering back and forth, he later admitted to only witnessing a single veer. Consequently, it is doubtful that a court would validate the traffic stop unless Mr. Toulis's vehicle swerved to the point of touching the lane lines on the road.
This is not the courtroom. So you're pulling me over saying that what? I'm drunk?
May I see your driver's license?
You're saying that I'm drunk?
I'm not. Are you having a medical episode? Are you distracted? Are you tired? Have you been driving for a long time?
I don't answer questions. How about that?
Okay, take a look at your driver's license, please.
Okay. Who are you, Denham Springs?
I told you my name is Officer DeBoard, Denham Springs Police Department.
Okay, and you're going to be one of the slow ones that just messed up. Now, what else do you want? Y'all are harassing me because of who I am.
I don't know who you are.
Well, I'm telling you, I am your worst nightmare at this point.
If you say that again, I'm going to take that as a threat.
It's called freedom of speech.
You better
learn the law.
I will take that as a threat and act accordingly.
How is it threat?
Louisiana 128,
Oh, man, you're going to let this fool do this stupid Sanjay? Really? You know I don't do nothing wrong. I don't break laws.
You know, I was just going to let you off with a warning, but now I'm going to write you a ticket.
For what?
Improper lane usage. You're going to get
Write me a ticket. Write me the ticket. Go ahead. Go write me the ticket. Go on.
Stand right there. Actually got any weapons on you? Turn around, face
I don't answer questions. And this is going to be an illegal search.
Turn around, face my unit.
Really?
Place your hands on top of your head and interlace your fingers.
I am recording you. Oh, okay. You see these people?
Now, spread your feet. Now it's an officer safety thing. You need to learn the law. So right now, I'm going to be quiet. Shut your mouth. So I can conduct a lawful pat frisk for weapons for officer safety.
It's called Terry versus
And
Ohio.
I gave you 3 lawful commands and you sat there. You got 1 time. Yep, and you just messed up. A nice, interesting weapon.
I don't have to answer your questions.
I'm not asking you no questions.
You asked me about it.
You got the right to remain silent. Use it. Be quiet.
I don't have to answer your questions.
Then use it.
Officer DeBoard proceeds to pat down Mr. Toulis, asserting his authority to do so for officer safety reasons. Mr. Toulis contests the legitimacy of this search, invoking the landmark 1968 case of Terry v. Ohio. In this case, the Supreme Court established that officers can briefly detain individuals for investigatory purposes based on reasonable suspicion of criminal activity, leading to a Terry stop. The court further emphasized the need for a narrowly drawn authority to permit a reasonable search for weapons if the officer has reason to believe they are dealing with an armed and dangerous individual. The court clarified that the officer doesn't need absolute certainty that the individual is armed. Instead, the focus is on whether a reasonably prudent person, considering the circumstances, would believe their safety or that of others is in danger. This standard was applied in the 1977 case of Pennsylvania versus Mims, where an officer was deemed justified in ordering a driver out of the vehicle and frisking him upon observing a bulge in his jacket. However, the 1979 case of State versus Hunter in Louisiana emphasized that while lawful detention for questioning justifies a frisk, it doesn't automatically grant the authority to conduct a weapons pat-down. The officer is justified in frisking the subject only when circumstances warrant a reasonably prudent belief that their safety or the safety of others is in danger. Well, in Mr. Tullis's case, even if he did not fully comply with Officer DeBoard's commands to stand in front of his vehicle, there is no clear evidence suggesting that he posed a threat. The body camera footage indicates compliance on Mr. Tullis's part, and there were no visible signs of danger, such as bulges in his pockets or aggressive movements. Consequently, a court would likely conclude that Officer DeBoard's search was unjustified and violated Mr. Tullis's rights.
You threatening me again?
You're gonna get a written.
Hey, I've been written up. You don't even know.
You're gonna get written up. You're gonna get a complaint form.
Good.
It's gonna go on your jacket.
Come on with it. Put the phone down, man. Put the phone down.
Go ahead, write me my ticket.
So is this one long?
Yeah. Yes, you're allowed to get out here. Yeah. I know law better than you.
Have y'all dealt with him before?
I dealt a couple times, see him. But I don't really cause him any problems. It's up to you if you want to write ticket.
Well, so I dealt with the cell phone thing when it interferes with his investigation.
It just in general, he's still allowed to record.
But within a certain distance of a law enforcement officer
They haven't
conducting.
approved that yet. They're trying to get that approved. But
They haven't approved here when I dealt with it.
Well, I have to double check on it, to be honest with you.
I'm going to do that right now.
During the encounter, Officer DeBoard's partner, referred to as Sanjay by Mr. Tullis, informs Officer DeBoard that citizens generally have the right to record during a traffic stop. In response, Officer DeBoard mentions potential legislation that could prohibit filming within a certain distance of an officer. Officer Sanjay counters this by referencing the 2017 case of Turner versus Driver, which Mr. Tullis had earlier mentioned. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, with jurisdiction over Louisiana, had unequivocally affirmed that the First Amendment protects the right to record the police. In its decision, the court acknowledged that filming government officials, including police officers, in public places while performing their duties aligns with basic First Amendment principles. However, the court also recognized that reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions could be imposed, provided they are narrowly tailored to serve a significant governmental interest. Several states attempted to legislatively restrict the right to film the police. For example, in 2022, Arizona passed a law prohibiting video recording of law enforcement activity within 8 feet, but a federal court later ruled it unconstitutional in Arizona Broadcasters Association versus Mays. Similarly, Indiana passed a law prohibiting approaching within 25 feet of an officer engaged in their duties, leading to a legal challenge by the ACLU of Indiana. In Louisiana, House Bill 85, which aimed to establish a 25-foot restriction, was passed by the state legislature but vetoed by Governor John Bell Edwards. The governor, in his veto letter, expressed concerns that the bill could chill the exercise of First Amendment rights. Even if such legislation had been enacted, it would likely not apply to Mr. Tullis's filming during a traffic stop, as these laws typically target bystanders rather than the subjects of traffic stops who may need to remain within a certain distance of officers conducting their duties. Therefore, Mr. Tullis's act of filming would probably be protected under the First Amendment, and a court would likely find any attempt to restrict or prohibit it during the traffic stop as unconstitutional.
Sergeant Tanley.
Be quiet.
Hey, don't.
If you step any closer to me,
What's your inspection?
stand right over there. If you step one more foot closer to my unit, I'm going to take it as a threat, and I'm going to act accordingly.
I haven't even moved.
I want it back, son.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
I want it back. I'm just a backup officer, bud.
I wasn't going to write him a ticket.
Also, people knew for sure that he was there. Not trying to dump the question.
So,
stop.
I noticed
because this is how that
I
walker cop
noticed,
got in trouble. Because they do have dash cameras.
well, I know.
Yeah.
So I noticed he veered to the center lane of travel right before he crossed over the intersection. But after that, he didn't veer.
After deciding to issue Mr. Toulis a warning, Officer DeBoard allowed him to leave, thus terminating the traffic stop. Mr. Toulis shared his recording of the encounter on his YouTube channel and later obtained Officer DeBoard's body camera footage, posting it as well. However, it remains unclear whether Mr. Toulis has filed a complaint or is pursuing any legal action. In summary, Officer DeBoard received a failing grade for various infractions during the encounter. He interfered with Mr. Toulis's First Amendment rights by repeatedly ordering him to stop filming. Additionally, Officer DeBoard violated Mr. Toulis's Fourth Amendment rights by frisking him without any evidence to support a belief that he was armed and dangerous. Furthermore, Officer DeBoard demonstrated a concerning lack of knowledge about the Constitution and the current state of Louisiana law. Officer DeBoard's lack of consistency in explaining the reason for the traffic stop raises doubts about the integrity of his claims. While initially stating that Mr. Toulis was veering back and forth, Officer DeBoard later told Officer Sange that he only observed Mr. Toulis veer to the center once before crossing the intersection, with no further veering afterwards. Officer Sange expressed skepticism about any veering occurring. Notably, Officer DeBoard openly admitted to consistent First Amendment violations, confessing that in his previous department, he would confiscate citizens' cell phones when they were recording interactions. This admission further underscores his disregard for individuals' constitutional rights.
See, I dealt with this in Point Capee, and when all that's going on, when it interferes with a law enforcement investigation, take the phone, turn it off.
Throughout the encounter, Officer DeBoard repeatedly referenced concerns about officer safety and potential interference, solely based on Mr. Toulis's exercise of his First Amendment right to record the traffic stop. It is evident that the act of filming posed no danger to Officer DeBoard or interference with his investigation. Instead, it appears that Officer DeBoard may have been using law enforcement buzzwords to justify an overly authoritarian level of control over Mr. Toulis's actions. Officer Sanjay receives a grade of C because, although he demonstrated an accurate understanding of the First Amendment protections afforded to Mr. Toulis's filming and took steps to correct some of Officer DeBoard's unconstitutional behavior, he was not assertive enough in preventing Officer DeBoard from unlawfully frisking Mr. Toulis and repeatedly ordering him to stop recording. While Officer Sanjay acknowledged Mr. Toulis's right to record, he could have been more proactive in defending those rights. In an ideal world, officers would be motivated to respect citizens' rights through professionalism and a commitment to the Constitution. However, this encounter illustrates the practical impact that potential lawsuits and complaints can have in deterring officer misconduct. Mr. Toulis receives an A for demonstrating an accurate understanding of his constitutional rights under the First and Fourth Amendments, ensuring compliance with the law throughout the traffic stop, and taking steps to pursue accountability for Officer DeBoard's actions. Although Mr. Toulis could have exercised his right to remain silent more effectively, he did not admit to anything incriminating. He successfully exercised his First Amendment rights by filming the encounter and expressing disagreement with the officer's actions. Mr. Toulis also completed with directives that a court would likely find lawful, such as standing in front of the police vehicle during the traffic stop, despite Officer DeBoard's lack of knowledge. Regarding the constitutional protections for filming police encounters, Mr. Toulis displayed a high level of commitment to his constitutional rights.